Welcome back to another episode of On Brand from Muse by Clio. I'm Nicole Purcell, the president of the Clio Awards. Right next to me, I have my co-host, Mr. Tim Nutt. How you doing?
Hey, doing wonderful. How's it going with you?
It looks a little dark there, so I'm thinking it's a little stormy.
It may storm today, but we're going to press on through. We have a very cool guest today, Jessie Becker. She's the SVP of Marketing at Impossible Foods. And we're going to have a lot to talk about. You know, this is a product that really didn't exist just a few years ago. And obviously, they're having to do marketing now at a really crazy time for the food industry during the pandemic. It's also very much a partnership and distribution story as much as it is advertising and branding story. It's B2B, it's B2C. So it's everything, really. So we're really excited to welcome Jessie Becker.
Hey. Hey, Jessie, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good. So working from home, how has that been? Where are you? Who are you with? What's happening?
Yeah, well, I'm out here in the San Francisco Bay Area in Palo Alto and working from my home with my family. We have 3 young kids, a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So we stay busy.
Oh my God. So are you helping with the, well, school might be over now, but have you been helping with probably Zoom classes or doing stuff like that?
A little bit. We're super fortunate because we have a full-time nanny who's been with us through the whole time. So I'm mostly free during the day, but I am tech support for the house. So definitely the kids come in, Mom, I need to get on the Zoom. But not right now. We're in summer mode now and wondering what school next year is going to look like the rest of the country.
Oh my God. So talking about Zoom, how have you been communicating with your team and your staff, and how has that been working while you're working at home?
Yeah, I mean, who would have imagined how quickly you can turn to all remote when you have to?
Right.
I don't think any of us would have ever run this experiment voluntarily, but it's turned out surprisingly well. Everyone's on Zoom, and we are on Zoom, we're on Slack, we use phone, we use text. And I find for me, it's most important to keep up those multiple touch points because Zoom can be just draining to be on camera all day, but also hard to have kind of the quick, fun humor sides of the conversations. So I try to use Slack and text to keep that in the mix also. But it's been going surprisingly well.
But I'm sure you miss being around people.
We do. I do for sure, and I miss it with my team as well. I think the biggest thing that we talk about is it's hard to get the same feel of the brainstorming meetings and the whiteboarding. So the more tactical let's review meetings work fine, but the hey let's push on this idea and explore the possibilities is definitely harder and takes more time.
Yeah. Are there any other ways that Impossible had to pivot during this time besides communication and brainstorming? Is there any other things as a company that you really had to pivot to during this time?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, our business up through the end of last year was very focused on the restaurant side of the business, on food service. And 2020 was the year we were planning to expand deeply into retail, into the grocery world. And so COVID hits and we have 2 sides happening at the same time. Our retail expansion plan is suddenly something that we want to move even faster because there are meat shortages at grocery stores, and grocery stores are calling us and saying, can you come faster? We'd like to get you on shelf right away. And at the same time, our restaurants are suddenly shutting down or having to pivot into takeout and curbside delivery. So we really had to pivot in 2 different ways. One was to accelerate a well mapped out business plan on the retail side. And I think one of the more emotionally challenging pieces of that was helping my team let go of their beautifully designed, beautifully orchestrated marketing plans for every single retailer and saying, hey, we're going to throw that all out the window. We just need to get on shelf as fast as we can. And we'll fill in with all of the marketing awareness and promotion and trial programs as soon as we can. So that was one side of the business. And then on the other side of the business, we were really having to spend a lot of time with our customers and understand where they were emotionally, where they were with the business, and how could we support them. And it ended up being a really innovative process for them, where they started selling things out of the back of their kitchen. You probably saw this. I know a lot of people talked about, I need flour. You know, suddenly everybody wants to bake at home, and there's no flour on the grocery store shelves. And the restaurants started selling it. So we saw this with a bunch of our customers, where they were selling flour and toilet paper, and then they started selling Impossible. So they would take the 10-pack of patties that we sell to restaurants, and they would sell it directly to consumers to cook at home. And so as we saw that, we leaned into it with them and said, how can we help you? How can we promote this on our social? How can we help you with any marketing materials? So we actually designed a social toolkit for the restaurants to help them advertise, to help them get listed on the food delivery platforms. And then we took that and rolled it out to all of our other customers who were still trying to catch up of what are we going to do. So it was really, really fun to see everybody's creative juices working on that in a way that really helps support a group of people who are part of our family. And then the last piece we did was we had been talking for a long time about, should we launch our own website? Should we sell direct to consumer? And every time we talked about it, we thought, well, it feels like a lot of work, not sure. And this time we said, let's go for it. We have no idea what else is going to happen in these places. Let's run. And we were able to get a website up and running with all the frozen shipping logistics worked out in 8 weeks.
Oh my God.
It was fabulous. And so we've got it up and running now, and we're applying now all of the fun part of how do we learn how to promote it? How do we learn how to add in new offers or new products? And so the creativity there has been amazing.
That's amazing.
I'm curious, obviously your B2B sector sounds like it takes up an enormous amount of your time, but then you're also, trying to get consumers to consider having an Impossible product too. Like, how do you balance those two sort of very different marketing challenges?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, I think you have to understand the consumer and be thinking about the consumer first and foremost, because that's how you're going to engage the B2B customers as well. So we spend a lot of time understanding what does a consumer understand about Impossible? Why are they interested in Impossible? And then helping our customers understand why it will be good for their business to bring it in. What we see is when people first try Impossible, they're blown away. Wait, are you sure you didn't give me the wrong product? This tastes like the meat I'm used to eating. And we're like, yes, it's real meat that's made from plants, right? Which is a non sequitur for a lot of people, but is exactly how we think about it. It's meat made from plants. And so for us, that act of trial is really important. So we use that with our B2B customers as well. We send them food. We cook with them. We used to go in person and cook with them, but now we do it over Zoom. We'll do a little Zoom cooking class and have them experience that and realize how amazing it is, how delicious it is. And then we talk to them about the nutrition aspects of it, the health aspects of it, the climate aspects of it, and how consumers are actively seeking that out, and they will grow their business because of it.
Okay. I'm wondering about the partnerships you've had. Obviously have been huge. Burger King, Starbucks, White Castle, even I think before Burger King. And you've also had influencers as a big piece of the mix too. Can you talk about, is it because the product is just so new that you need partners and established brands and people to sort of help you tell your story?
Oh, great question. Yeah, on the restaurant side, on the White Castles and the Burger Kings, for us, that was a really important step in driving scale quickly. So we started in 2016 at very high-end, high credibility meat restaurants. And it was important to us because we wanted people to understand that this is a high-end culinary experience that can replace every part of the animal meat that you eat on a regular basis. But when we wanted to reach scale, we knew that we needed to reach into the more casual restaurants, the fast food dining experiences that many Americans engage in. And so that's been a really wonderful way for us to drive exposure across the US. People already have a lot of brand affinity for those restaurants, and then they are able to experience it with the plant-based meat, with Impossible, and then they're more open to it when they go into a grocery store or when they go into a smaller restaurant to try that as well.
I feel like Impossible has such a great reputation for quality and for taste. And even, I mean, to me, I heard of word of mouth too, besides the amazing partnerships you're doing. And someone's like, no, you have to taste it. It's unbelievable. So how does your marketing change? How do you get people, especially now consumer side, you know, to taste it, just for them to be like, oh my God, this is something, it does taste like meat, or it does taste something good that I want to eat?
Yeah, I mean, it is an incredibly word of mouth experience, right? And we really try to lean into that. The influencers actually largely come to us. They're excited about it, and they've had their own experience, and they want to tell everyone about it. So I think one of the most interesting pivots for us creatively has been to think about taking all the activities that we used to do live to give people that first try experience, where we would go to shows and have a booth where we're handing out free samples. You know, here's a slider, here's a meatball. And how do we do that in a virtual environment? And that's a question we're still trying to crack. So part of that is certainly expanding the restaurants we're in. So now we're in 15,000 Starbucks across the US with our Impossible breakfast sandwich using the new sausage patty. And that's a very easy way for people to try something new. The retail expansion is helping a lot too, particularly as we use first-time coupons. So you can come in where we might normally sell the Impossible meat for $8 or $9, depending on the retailer. It'll be on promo at $5. It's a very easy way for people to take it home and try it. So we're really proud of the repeat rate and the advocacy rate once people try. And so my biggest challenge as a marketer is pulling people from awareness of what this is and getting them over that first hump of, should I really take that bite? You know, am I going to like it? And once they do, they're like, I can't believe this is happening and I want more of this.
Yeah, you guys are doing really cool and different things. So one of the things Tim and I have talked about, traditional advertising is something we really haven't seen, and maybe we've missed it. Is why aren't you doing that? And maybe in the future, would you, as you guys keep growing bigger?
Yeah, we're pretty excited about that. We traditionally have not done a lot of that. We've been very focused on the word of mouth, the earned media, and our partners really promoting the product. And I think that's an incredible way to grow a business. For us, as we thought about how do we advertise on our own behalf, we wanted to get to a point where the distribution was dense enough that it made sense financially for us to do that. And we're really hitting that point now. We're at, we have 30 times more retail doors than we had back in January. And by the year end, we'll have 50 times. So we've really pretty much all over the US. And with our e-commerce website, we can ship everywhere in the US, the 48 states at least. And so now it really becomes that point where we think, oh, with the right message, we can actually see enough lift across all the different distribution to make it pay out. So I do think over the next 6 to 12 months, you'll see us start to experiment with that. And I'm really excited about the possibilities there.
Very cool. I'm wondering how you guys balance messaging and just the way that you talk about the product itself. Obviously, it's a product story, your consumer product business, with sort of this broader message or like an environmental / sustainability message. A lot of brands, obviously, these days they really feel like purpose is what gets particularly millennial customers loyal to them. About kind of how important the message, the sort of mission side of the business is, and how you guys communicate that.
Yeah, it's certainly incredibly important to us internally. We spend a lot of time talking about how we will grow not just sales of Impossible product, but really accomplish the mission, which is to have people give up animal meat and switch over to plant-based. So when we think about how to reach consumers, we have to convince them first that taste matters. Some people are aware of the impact that animal agriculture has on the planet. Some people are brought to wanting to eat less meat because of health issues, but very few people come to it and say, I think there's something out there that tastes better than meat, right? Like I first have to convince them this is going to taste amazing. And then I can go from that into and why should you want to switch? So it's something, Tim, that we experiment with a lot. And what we found, we're still working through this. What we find is that at a macro level, we want to be out and talking to the world about how impactful animal agriculture is in a negative way on the climate, and how much of a difference you can make by switching to plant-based. Because when people have that knowledge already in their heads, when they see impossible, they're much more likely to try it. But if we try to give them that message right when they're making that decision about what should I buy for dinner tonight, that's right, they're just focused on their taste buds. They want to know, is it going to taste good? Great, I want it. So we're doing a little of both, but I always think of it as we're leading with taste, and then we're filling in with health and nutrition. That's it, okay. and climate.
It can't be easy to go negative against the meat industry. I mean, that's a whole sort of Pandora's box, if you will. I mean, do you guys feel, if you're going to be a positive, feel-good brand, how do you then sort of, take shots at the industry that you feel like is not doing the world any good?
It really depends on the audience. I would say in the broad audience, we don't. I think our brand is really a very optimistic and positive brand, and that's the face that I think we are most successful with consumers on. That's how they want to engage with us. But on the business side, we do talk a lot about it, because it's how people start to understand how impactful the meat processing industry is, and what a messy business it is, and what a destructive business it is in terms of our resources. So I think we play a balance between when we're talking with consumers, we're really focused on how your life is going to be better and how you can do good things for the environment, because most consumers right now understand that they could be doing something better for the environment, even if they're not quite ready to turn their lives upside down to do it. And then on the business side, we're really pushing on the see how broken this part of the meat system is, and we want to disrupt that whole system.
Yeah, okay. I wanted to step back and talk about content one more time with you a little bit, which I know a few years ago you guys did a fun content series with Wu-Tang Clan.
Yes.
We covered that over on Muse, which was really fun. Lately, looking at your YouTube, it looks like you're doing quite a bit of recipe videos. Could you sort of describe your content strategy as it stands at the moment?
Yeah, we've been leaning into recipes quite a lot, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're now available in grocery stores. So now you can cook Impossible at home, and so we want to help people visualize exactly what they would cook. How does that work? Does it really work just like my regular beef purchase would? And it does. So that's where you're seeing a lot of focus on the recipe side. And I think we're continuing to explore what the other parts of our content strategy will be. We've been playing with Instagram Live, and we're certainly exploring what that owned advertising, the paid advertising campaigns in the future will look like.
So talking about content and everything that you're doing, are you working with agencies, creative agencies outside? Or are you doing everything in-house? What are you guys, how are you doing it?
Yeah, right now it's largely in-house. We have an incredible creative team that is super tapped into who our customer is, why they care about Impossible, is tapped into all of the new ways to reach consumers across social. And so we find that working in-house is really productive in terms of bringing the right creative ideas, threading the nuance of staying positive about a really serious topic. But I think as we move into other campaigns, we may consider adding external agencies into the mix. Yeah. We just have to see how it goes.
Sorry, I have Milo stepping in. He wanted to
say Milo.
Everyone. With the company growing so quickly, which is so exciting, how has it been? Like, how is it for you personally, professionally working there? You're obviously getting tons of metrics coming all at you quickly. How is that different from working? And I know we're going to go to some of your past history, but how is it different, like coming to something and growing so quickly like this during a crazy time also?
Well, during the crazy time, I mean, there's no comparison. I think, this is the stage of business growth that I really love, when you know that there's a product that this company is making and that our company is making that consumers are going to love once they know it's out there and they know they can get their hands on it. And I feel like we're at that point where we can see that 5 to 10 years from now, people are going to look back and say, it was always obvious that that was going to be so successful. And yet when you're in it, it doesn't feel that way. I mean, that was my experience at Netflix in the early days. You know, we knew we had something that consumers loved and that we believed strongly was going to grow really fast. But the number of people who are like, are you sure you should still be there, was amazing. Yeah. And so Impossible very much has that feel to me, where we have an incredible product and incredible clarity on why consumers love this product and its impact in the world. But our job is to get it out in front of a lot more people. And so this is a really fun time where you're figuring out what's the best way to get there, but knowing how much impact it's going to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you did spend quite a bit of time at Netflix before Netflix was Netflix. It was on its way to becoming what we know today as Netflix. And you also spent several years at Google and YouTube. Obviously, those are both very creative brands. I'm curious what you learned there that you still find useful today working at Impossible.
You know, both of them had a lot of impact in how I think about consumer behavior change in total. Netflix and Google, but Netflix is a very logic-driven executive team at the beginning. You know, now it's got a huge creative team based in LA, but at the time it was very engineering-driven. And what I had to learn and then teach in a way that they could hear was consumers are very reasonable in how they react to things, but they are not logical. And so understanding what it is about their core emotion, like why do they connect with something, and then figuring out how to bring that to life for them in a way that they will connect with, that's reasonable, is really different than thinking through the logic of why someone would make a decision. And so I think one of the things that I learned in both those places was it's important first to understand how you will do that with consumers, but then you also have to help everyone else in the company understand why that will be effective. Because when they approach it from an engineering perspective, it doesn't seem like it would make sense because they're more logically driven. So I think of the challenge as consumers always want something better and they don't like change. So how do I help them get excited about what's on the other side so that they will make that change with me?
I see. Did the leadership team at Impossible, were they open to your thoughts on that when you first joined?
Oh, absolutely. But it also leads to really interesting conversations. You know, we think about, I mean, our target customer is absolutely a meat eater today. And 95% plus of our customers come to us and are eating animal meat today. And so we had really interesting conversations about when you're trying to move that person to eat plant-based meat, are you going to take one person and flip them 100%? Or are you going to take 100 people and flip them 1% at a time? And I think that we're much more likely to flip 1% at a time. But there are others inside the company who are like, no, I think we're going to flip them in a binary thing. And let's go flip one person completely. So those are examples where I think that model of consumer change is a really interesting one to bring internally, because your strategy of how you would roll your marketing is really different based on those assumptions.
Yeah. I find that interesting too. I mean, the food industry it's so not necessarily logically driven either in terms of consumer choice and consumer behavior. So I imagine if you're talking about Netflix picking a movie, if you think that's emotional, like what should you be eating must be even more so.
I think food is probably the most emotional category out there. I can't think of one that would be more emotional.
Yeah. Looking to the next sort of 6 to 12 months, I know it's very difficult to predict anything at the moment, but could you tell us sort of how you envision your sort of strategy and creative kind of playing out over that time?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to continue honing what you were asking about, which is how do we deliver that taste message first, but also give people a reason to get excited about the nutrition and the climate elements of choosing Impossible. So we've got a lot of experiments on messaging queued up around that. We're certainly going to be figuring out how to engage people in the grocery store, or as many of us are doing our grocery shopping today, on websites that are going to deliver groceries to our door. And like we talked about, we're certainly thinking about when do we start running the bigger campaigns that will lift all channels at once. And that's really an important area for us to experiment and show early results so that we have the confidence to scale.
Cool. We'd love to hear about those when they happen. the big campaigns when they're coming out.
Would love to.
Cool.
Well, one final question. Number one, actually, I'm going to follow you to your next company because obviously you keep going to the companies that are really going to explode. So that is so exciting. But professionally and personally, what are you hopeful for during the next even 6 months as we're going through this pandemic, as hopefully it's ending in the next year? What are you most hopeful for?
Well, gosh, I mean, I think most hopeful, of course, is a vaccine. But beyond that, I think it's continuing to discover how we can really build the relationships and keep the creativity flowing on the team without being in person all the time. You know, we've had so many years of learning how to build great campaigns when we're together. How do we learn how to do it offline? And we're really pushing on that. So I'm hoping there's a great whiteboarding application out there that somebody hasn't shown me yet, because that's the thing I miss the most.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This is amazing, and congratulations with everything.
Thank you.
Very pleasure. Maybe the next time we'll do some tastings with wine and Impossible Burger.
We'll send you a tasting kit ahead of time. Absolutely.
I would love that. That would be amazing.
Right. Thank you so much, Jessie.
Thank you.
Bye.
So
I'm hungry now. I'm going to be honest with you.
Hungry too, yeah. Fascinating brand. I mean, they're involved in so much, and just building, you know.
Very innovative. It's really exciting to hear everything that they've gone through during this time, and also, like you said, with something that has not been out there before. So
totally.
That was really fascinating to me.
And so
great afternoon talk, Tim. Thank you.
All right.
See you later.
Bye, Nicole. And thank you guys for watching. Visit Muse by Clio every day for the latest in creativity, campaigns, essays, Q&As. And every Thursday, we have a new on-brand video, so check back for that. And thanks for watching.